Good afternoon. My name is Nock, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Institution of Engineering Technology, Media Technical Network, which is the industry-facing part of the Institution of Engineering Technology, which is one of the owners of IBC as overall. It is one of the key engineering institutions representing members around the world, over 170,000 members. And here, of course, we're putting on our John Logie Baird sessions, named after the inventor of the television we don't watch, as I like to call it, because, of course, he invented the concepts, the camera itself, but the actual concept of the television, he had it largely based on an electromechanical principle. You can read a lot about it in the history books. But it's someone we do celebrate as someone who was a really, really big technical innovator back in the 1920s for getting this industry off the ground, in effect. So that's why we named the sessions after him. And this is approximately the 25th year of running our sessions overall. This is our third year of running them here at IBC, which is really the best place for this sort of session. And we're looking forward to future presentations like this. In fact, this afternoon we've got a whole range of sessions, with this one focusing on a more sort of practical nuts and bolts of what is television and video today, which is the strategy of television and video of platforms that you use to deliver those services. And we have a range of great speakers here who are going to be able to give you their insights and viewpoints as people who are a part of that approach to how you get video actually delivered to consumers. Creating a TV platform used to be a very complicated, multi-party operation involving the appointment of a system integrator, the collection together of many best-of-breed technologies, customized fantastically to an operator's requirements. Every platform was different in some way, but at the same time, very similar. You would actually have to take on all the risk of the software development, the timescales, the costs, and TV platforms could take upwards of 2 or 3 years even to be delivered, to deliver services to the consumer, and then have many, many years of stabilization and evolution, sudden death and replacement by somebody else. And that literally has been the life cycle of platforms over the last 20 years. But now, these days, we have a much more nuanced approach where there are players coming into the market, or have been in the market now for a while, who can provide everything all the way up through to a turnkey solution, including the full operation of that platform. It involves integration with not just proprietary devices, but a whole range of commercial off-the-shelf retail devices. So today, it's a very, very different industry when you want to come and launch something, whoever that someone is who wants to actually do that, because the range of different operators now, not just the telcos and enhanced broadcasters of the past, it actually can be everyone, all the way down to someone who's just got a little sports club maybe running in a Premier League somewhere and wants to put some content out there to consumers. So it's both more complex and actually simpler at the same time. But as I say, we've got 3 presenters here. Firstly, we have Ruben from Agile Content, and I'll let him do a fuller introduction of himself. Then we're going to follow up with Roberta from Brightcove, who will tell a lot more about what their perspective is on this, followed up with Jacob from Zattoo. And then we'll follow that with a Q&A sat at the front. But I'd like to now invite Ruben up to the stage to tell you more about his perspective.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruben Mejias. I'm part of Agile Content. Yeah, Agile Content is a Spanish company located in 25 cities worldwide. Our headquarters is Bilbao. Yeah, we have around about 170 customers in 70 countries. We are around about 350 professional people worldwide. So we have in our headquarters in Spain, we have around 100 people. We have people in Porto who are managing all the end devices, end device management, set-top box management. Yeah, we have 100 people around about in Brazil. So we have a big LATAM hub where we are serving also different customers in that range. Yeah, and in Spain we have the biggest population of a managed service approach with around about now 890,000 subscribers. which is great because we are competing with the tier 1 operators, having a B2B proposition, which is great. Yeah, what are we doing? So, from a product perspective, we have the different products, and we grew in the last 4 or 5 years 150 to 160%. We bought around 8 companies. So, if you know, formerly Edgeware is a tier 1 CDN vendor. We bought WeTech in Portugal, where we have done all the front-end development. Phone in Germany, where we started to know the operational excellence model. And we have a Nock of 70 people in Spain, which are managing our end-to-end managed services as such. Yeah. So, Agile Management, our platform, delivery, devices, experience. So it's an end-to-end ecosystem. You can buy it as a one-stop shop, but you can also do it from a modular approach. So I'm missing one slide, I think. Now, what we're doing is, we have 3 pillars. So we have professional services, so we can manage customer environments where we sold not a single product. So we have the possibility to do also the modular approach. So if a customer is saying, I have a CDN, I have a platform, we can do the front end. This is something we're doing together with, as an example, Claro Video in Brazil, where we are serving 10 million households. No, but I think it's super important also to focus that operators are starting to be the angle where you can collaborate from a subscription brokering perspective with one single setup. I think it's underestimated, the power of an operator. Yeah, and I think it's important to define an ecosystem where everybody's collaborating. I see a lot of requirements from broadcasters to operators. Yeah, I think, Michael, you know that as well, single copy in Germany. It's a requirement for each and every customer. You need a single copy. It's making things complex. And we are focusing on defining an ecosystem where everybody can participate, an open ecosystem for the success of the end user, where you can really use from a super aggregation perspective all the different angles. Yeah, managed service is something which is popping up more and more, especially in operator environment, where operators are focusing on their broadband business, but they're becoming also let's call it a broker. So we see a lot of customers who are focusing, in Italy as an example, operators are starting to sell a part of the TV service. They're selling also insurances and energy. So it's becoming a lot of managed service where they're trying to focus on not on TV only, but they see TV as a growth path to sell broadband subscriptions. Yeah, this is more or less a little bit in a nutshell what we are doing. I think we are starting to discuss in a few moments more about the strategies from a platform perspective, where we can discuss the operational excellence model, the openness of an ecosystem, and where everybody can participate for the success of an end user. Time, or let's see, time to consume should be very short for an end consumer. That's why I think defining an open ecosystem is super important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, hi everyone, and thank you very much to Ian for the invitation and the IT and IBC. So, with Brightcove, we are changing a little bit the type of customer we are serving and also the approach that we have. And rather than sort of using standard sales slides, I've used, no, sorry, I have them as well. So this is from IDC, which is an analyst firm, and they've done a nice classification of the various as-a-service type of services that you have out there. So we start with, infrastructure as a service, clearly going up to platform as a service, and then as you start sort of adding capabilities, and the cloud takes more ownership, you have customer and business data, and then AI, I know it's talked a lot, but it's part of the classification. And then we go into software as a service, and that's where Brightcove operates. And we are all familiar, clearly, with the broadcast chain, so there is a production side and then a distribution side. So that's where we operate, and what the analyst here has done is to position the Brightcove logos on the various parts where we are active. Now, all these parts are basically served with our platform, and we start clearly with transcoding, moving to actually the full end-to-end OVP. And we also have a video player. I guess a lot of you are familiar with Video.js. Brightcove is a very strong participant in this project. And then there is also, on top of having the various blocks to go, let's say, from the mezzanine all the way to the end viewer, we also have the monetization part, which is clearly very important for customers. So we have our server-side ad insertion offering, and then we have, let's say, a level of analytics and insights. Back in 21, 22, we bought Wicket Labs, an insights company out of Seattle. And thanks to them, we have added this level of intelligence. My colleague talked about managed services. Now, we talk about two slightly different things, but we do offer professional services that come with a managed service in the sense that they big strategic consultancy, they can advise, and they can specifically customize on top of our platform. So then some numbers as well to help you position Brightcove. And there are a few that I would like to flag, like for example, every day, 1,300 years of content pass through our platform. So if you do the math, it's 11 million, 12 million hours that today are going through the platform. And if you look at history, it's longer than the Middle Ages. Another interesting stat is the 7.5 billion average plays that are requested every month. So it's whenever someone basically clicks the button, and let's think about every month, someone on planet Earth goes on to a service that has Brightcove at the back end. Another cool one is every week we have 200 million unique viewers. So unique people go and watch, let's say viewers, not people because there are some differences, but these unique viewers go and watch the platform. And that's basically almost 50 times the number of people who attended Taylor Swift Era Tour last year. So just to put it in perspective. So talking about customers, these are some of the logos we work with. And I'd like to maybe just clarify, there are almost two areas where Brightcove is active. So there are what we call the enterprise organization. I mean, everyone is an enterprise, but we work with lots of financial institutions, with tech companies, and with retail or luxury companies to serve video. And clearly we can do that because we started in media and broadcast, and that's what gives us then the credibility to serve this company. So you see a mix of companies up here. There are clearly content owners. There are big publishers that clearly serve lots of video content. And there are perhaps like entities like the Academy that use us for screening services. So before the Oscars, it's a B2B service, so security is very important. And there are also a number of sport federations that work with us. So they have a publishing use case. So for them, it's the short form product that is very important. So we have long form, short form, different challenges for both. And moving to the final one, just for you to get an idea more of the system, we all recognize the chain. So we start with the ingest. And there can be a number of inputs to the platform. It could be live events for sports or major events. We can take schedules. This is not, however, just to be clear, broadcast schedules. And then from the MAMs and all the system, before Brightcove, we take assets, mezzanine files, and then we process them. So you recognize the typical chain all the way to the playback. Now, this is what Brightcove has been historically for the past 20 years. Actually, we were founded 20 years, so it's our 20th birthday. But what's been interesting is the, let's say, evolution that our platform has gone through to support different monetization models. So it can be AVOD, it can be SVOD, transaction VOD, pay-per-view, or it could be fast. And that's very important, clearly, because of the situation where the industry is, the constant need to evolve and try models and find what works. On top of that, clearly we can say we're great, but We are only as good as the proofs that we bring to our customers. So we have this layer of insights that gives you intelligence about the content, the viewers, so their behaviors, how they interact with the content when they show up on the platform. And then we also have an offering that looks at the advertising, because you can crank up the advertising, but if your viewers leave the platform, you might as well serve less advertising. And then there is an element on quality or experience, which we monitor as well, because we can say, yeah, we are great at playback, but if there are problems further down the line and we don't know, that's not a valid claim. So that's in a nutshell what Brightcove does, and I look forward to the discussion.
So, my name's Jacob, and from Zattoo, running the sales operation, and we are trying to claim that running television is actually simple. And for most of our customers, we're learning it is definitely not. Because most of our customers who come to us on the very first stage are in that lower part of the legacy operators. They're working with the best of breed platform, which has come to age, hybrid environments between cable, some IP, some satellite, some this, some that, running head ends, running back ends, and struggling with that complexity and finding yet that the value of running it themselves is diminishing. It's diminishing in an economy where people go for the quick ticket. Sign up, go a month of Netflix here, go a month of Disney there, do this, do that, do the other. Flexibility, independence from a vendor. And where they realize building and operating and full end-to-end television service is very costly, is low margin, and is a pain in the neck, to be honest. And that's where we're seeing that the vendors coming to, the operators coming to us are in the game of trying an end-to-end TV as a service solution. That's what we decided to offer. So we're really in that business of turnkey and go from there. And what we've learned over time is that those operators actually are very happy with the service they get. They are having time to spend their resources on topics which matter to them, the marketing, the customer service, the customer experience. And we have, over time, when we started in 2006, we started to be an B2C service, a service which we still are. So if you happen to be in Germany, Austria, or Switzerland, you probably know us from using it on your phone, your devices, and that's where we came from. So we basically eat our own dog food and started that way. And then came into the business of, hey, we could sell this to operators who need a reliable, scalable platform. And that's how we came over the years to millions of subscribers and over 30 operators in right now 11 countries, in sister states 11 countries, who are served by one platform, one backend with more than 1,500 channels available and thousands of VOD assets. And we've been going out of our core markets from Germany, Austria, Switzerland to many other markets, mainly in Europe, because we saw that there's a lot of similarities, a lot of value we can provide based on that one platform. And ultimately, what are we doing? We're doing the heavy lifting, right? We're doing the pieces of hosted head-end, do the ingest, do acquisition of the channels, acquisition of the streams. We're doing the hosted backend, where we do the encoding, transcoding, on our own hardware, on our own software stack. So we're not dependent on a vendor who sells us an encoding array or things like that. We're doing our own middleware. We're implementing the business logic of the customer while we're launching their apps. We're doing the content distribution in most markets, even with our own CDN or directly into the operator's own network. And ultimately, we are building the white label front ends. And that gives us the control of the customer experience and gives the control of a consistent experience for the end user watching a show or watching TV or watching live TV. And we believe the differentiation is through quality. And so we're looking at providing the features our customers expect, the traditional things. Ad insertion, play, replay, live, VOD, recordings, scheduled recordings, quality of service, DRM, all these things we're managing for them. And additionally, through our long-standing experience, we can provide customers with the help they need in particular markets. So there was somebody who mentioned before the individual copy in Germany, or public value, so you have to put certain channels on certain buttons, or bring your own EPG solutions, where we say, well, whatever EPG you have, we can integrate it. And that's where we see our value we can provide to operator customers by building a consistent experience which takes into account the particular needs of a particular market. And now I'm looking very much forward to the conversation. Thank you.
I'd like to start off actually with a very simple first question actually, which some of you pointed to, because you do actually represent aspects of the current market for television service platforms for customers, but we did touch on a little bit on who the customers are, but who are your customers? And I'll start with Jakob. What is your customer? Especially considering I mentioned what the original customers used to be like is anybody who had some television channels they wanted to distribute, whether they were a broadcaster, primarily used to be a broadcaster, or someone who just owned lumps of fiber somewhere. So who's the customer now in 2024?
So my customer was, is, and always will be the person who is in front of that screen. Mm-hmm. Because that's the person we have to satisfy in their needs and hopefully anticipate the needs they're going to have in a few years down the line. Obviously, the operator for us is a proxy to that, and we need to provide those operators with insights on how their end customers behave, how they use a product, what they're looking for. So we're seeing ourselves as a delivery mechanism of that innovation, of that end customer experience, and therefore, I would say for me personally, it's the person in front of the screen, proxied by the operator who is paying us and buying from us the solution.
Okay. And that operator, who are they?
They're usually mid-sized to large operators, usually top 2 to top 5 in each country, who typically have a solution in place where they are moderately happy with, or where they're facing challenges, and where they come to us with how do we get that innovation, that next level into the market. And looking at that, we recently went through that with Student and Wow in Denmark, and a new market for us, where we've learned that they have been on the forefront of winning awards for like 7 or 8 years in a row for their television product. And for us, it's a great opportunity to learn how do you win those awards in Denmark, where we have a lot of customers in Germany who won those in the past, and where we learn that excellence is something which translates or gives a burden or a challenge or an opportunity for us as a vendor in the back end as well.
Okay. Roberta.
Okay, so we are a B2B2C organization, in some cases B2B for the enterprise side. So you're right, ultimately the customer that will decide the success is the viewer, whether they stay there, watch the ads, or they continue subscribing. Now, there is an element of front end in this overall service. So in some cases, we are just the back end, so we are the online video platform. And for us, yes, we need to serve video, but also we need to integrate with the whole ecosystem of our customer, let's say the B entity. So in that specific case, it's important that we have an open architecture with very well documented APIs and a strong partner ecosystem. So we can fit, and then many other elements can be bolted on. In terms of, then in some cases, we are also responsible for the front end. Sometimes we bring some specialized, app development agencies. In terms then of, let's say, who they are, these, let's say, B entities that come to us, they could be, so historically, Brightcove, became famous for servicing publishers. So that's, let's say, a short form use case. So there for them, it's important that that video, that clip goes out as soon as possible. And they get analytics that are real time. Some of them, like, the Times, they built their own TV studios, so they've started production. So there is an evolution in these entities. Then there are more like broadcasters, so content owners. They can also produce their content. And unlike we've talked about managed network, these are people that need to embrace the internet. So they need to embrace OTT distribution. So clearly the operators have, their infrastructure, their CapEx investment, but we often work even in the States with, cable providers that decide, given the crisis they've been going through, they need to embrace OTT. So for there, when they're happy to be on the internet, we work with them. Then there are also, I would say, sport federations. Again, these are companies that produce IP, produce content. They can sell rights, or they can try to make more money by going through other ways, so going D2C.
Okay, I'll pick one phrase from that, which we'll come back to after I've asked Ruben, and that was the crisis point you made. So we'll come back to that. So Ruben, what about you? What are the customers for Agile content?
Of course, the end consumer is in the focus to serve the needs of the end consumer, but we're serving different verticals. So we are, as an example, developing together with a tier 1 operator who's acting in 10 countries. We're developing with them the platform, their core platform, their own platform. We are serving, as an example, also a big hotel chain worldwide. A lot of people are asking, hey, why a hotel chain? A hotel chain is doing super aggregation since many, many years. So they were the front runners, and for them, we're doing the device management, the firmware management, and the set-top box management. And everything we do it on a modular way, depending on the customer needs. One-stop shop always has critical items. If something doesn't fulfill the requirements, you can exchange that. But we have 5 hubs worldwide where we see the differences. So we have one in Nordics where we have head-end infrastructures, Nordics in Germany, in Spain. So we launched also Germany, Spain, Italy, and Brazil. The great thing is the differences, how they work. But a lot of things, similarities, you learn to improve the service. So as an example, for a big customer in Nordics, we helped them to deploy their CDN, or they're using our CDN infrastructure, and we reduced piracy completely with our new solution. So what we in Agile Content are doing is we're doing professional services. So we call it also the chameleon effect. We come in, we look, what is the customer having at the moment? What can be exchanged? How can I drive the evolution? And this in combination with business KPIs, so we define business KPIs based on third-party data analytics solutions, and we work with them month by month, day by day, to improve their usability. So it's everything with the focus, you're completely right, Jakob, to the end consumer. Mm-hmm. But we have several customers in different verticals. Flexibility is key.
So going back to the crisis, I'm presuming, Roberto, that you're referring to the fact that, to be honest, the majority of operators out there today are losing subscribers in the face of the growth of OTT provision of services and the move to on-demand. Is that really what you meant by the crisis? So, and especially, we know in the US with the cable, the regional network sort of facing this cord cutting and then not being able, for example, to buy sport rights as they used to do before. So these sport federations have to go then direct to their consumers, to their viewers. But, I don't know if any of you attended the Devoncroft Summit on Thursday. So there were lots of talking about, when vendors sell, you need to, or the broadcaster or the operators buy, CFOs and financial people have a strong presence. It's not just you selling to, let's say, your mate who is in tech, but this person will bring a number of stakeholders. So there is lots of scrutiny on their side on what they buy, and we know that the margins in general in the industry are getting squashed. So there is the big competition of entities like YouTube, where I myself spend lots of time, but I get out when there is, during the Olympics, lots of live streaming. So I was on BBC iPlayer because that's where the content I wanted was. So there is, I think, the cable operators and more in general as an industry, there are lots of cuts, and Devoncroft was really talking about company being over-evaluated, and then the reality kicking in. So there is a lot of due diligence to work, and before we were joking about, about AI, but it's about the use cases, what these technologies, AI or whatever we offer, really bring to these other entities, ultimately to their consumers. But we need even more
we need to be more down to earth, I think, than before. Even as salespeople, you need to be more concrete about the benefits.
And Ruben, what about your crisis on your customers? Is it the same?
I think crisis is a non-ending situation in the media industry related to end devices.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no standard from an end devices perspective. So everybody's saying, I want to have a set-top box-less environment. Yeah, but now set-top boxes are becoming super cheap. Yeah, with the M-Logic approach. And so, oh, I said something, sorry. Yeah. No, but if you want to launch a set-top box...
There are other chipset providers available, by the way.
Sorry for that, I pay all drinks. No, but the topic is, you have 17, no, you said 21, 7 TV OS
I think it's 22 now.
22
another one
TV
appeared from
OS systems.
someone. Yeah.
So if people are complaining about set-top boxes that you need to manage them and stuff like that, if you introduce a set-top box-less environment with smart TVs, yeah, somebody else is dominating your environment, and on the other side, you don't have the control over your end consumer. Yeah? So this is for me a crisis I would love to see fulfilled, because then consumption is becoming easier, because the three of us can do smarter and easier to manage solutions. I think that's for me a crisis. Yeah? Okay. I don't talk about AI because most of the people are talking about process automation instead of AI, but that's okay. I love AI. Yeah.
How about you, Jakob? What's the crisis, and are you actually set up to deal with that?
I think change is a recurring topic, all right? And there's compelling events happening. We had a couple of compelling events in Switzerland over the last few years, something called GT12. So how do we replace ads? Very important topic. Now in Germany, I don't know if anybody hears from Germany, but we have basically a fundamental change on how cable subscriptions are being built, which made Vodafone lose, I think, 750,000 subscribers in like overnight. So these are the things our providers are dealing with. It's like regulatory events which come in and suddenly pull the carpet under your financial planning. And responding to those is incredibly hard, because they're coming in like there's nothing you can do about it. You have to prepare the best you can. And helping operators to do that is a little bit what we're trying to do on those things, because it's a pivotal way of how companies plan their business to go, and suddenly things change and they have to completely reshift the way. The crisis we are seeing is definitely in the smart TV world, right? And from looking at some data for Germany, our D2C service, the most used device is actually Amazon's Fire TV stick, because literally everybody in Germany has one because it's so dead cheap. In other countries, they're totally not there. There is nobody who has, or there is no market where we say like everybody has this thing at home anyway. So it makes it incredibly hard for operators to decide what platform and device strategy do I drive. And many opt for, oh, let's do a set-top box, because then I have to support one device and not 22 different smart TV platforms for my end customers. So there's a crisis definitely in the device world.
Okay. So that's actually an interesting point here, because some people see that we're moving into a period of consolidation. In fact, it's almost a phrase that comes easily out of the lips of everybody. But from what I'm hearing at the moment, it's not consolidating. It's exploding.
It's fragmenting more and more.
Yeah.
And the Fire TV stick is a good example for the super aggregation part, because it's super aggregation what Fire TV sticks is doing. You have all the applications on one stick. You're smart TV independent, which is great. But yeah, it's going into that direction. The combination of different subscriptions under one umbrella, and hopefully managed completely by the operator.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the shift like of the viewers. When you look at the generation of my 3-year-old daughter, my 3-year-old daughter going to be natively growing up with a tablet in her hand and using that, right? The generation of my parents are totally challenged by the fact that there's not just one remote control on the table, but there's different devices I have to operate and to use and click and touch and swift. And it's really hard, because those viewers are the people who watch TV. Right?
And maybe can I add one thing?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because clearly you guys are very much focused on set-top boxes, so Brightcove, no, Brightcove doesn't play on this operator field, unless these operators have embraced, the internet. However, what we see, if we talk maybe a bit about, let's say, fast channels, where perhaps we play more. If we look at clearly big aggregators are Samsung, which clearly are not liked by these type of operators, but we find there are differences in geographies. So one thing is to deliver a fast channel to Samsung in the US, but the moment we speak with colleagues in Asia and they have requirements from local countries, they're like, no, it's not like in the US. There are differences in the type of signals, the specs they have for the incoming signals. So even if maybe in, let's say, our world with distribution to these fast platforms it's easier, actually there are differences there.
Okay. So how does this affect the competitiveness of an operator coming into this market? How do you be competitive in today's market? So, Ruben.
Yeah, I think it's like I mentioned, there's a big opportunity for each and every operator to combine the different services under one umbrella. I think you see the growth rate of OTT. You have always the same viewership, and more subscriptions are popping up. And the usability, it might be fine per subscription. But the only evolution is if you combine it, if the way to consume is becoming the fastest as possible. And that's why I'm saying the collaboration, I like the collaboration as an example between Vodafone and a broadcaster in Germany, where they're starting to talk about how we do ad replacements and stuff like that. So I think this is the direction where everybody was talking about the consolidation, where we can go and define really for the end consumer an ecosystem, where you can really use one remote control to consume his content. And the great thing is, you can include also fast channels and stuff like that. And by the way, you can ask the fast channel providers how happy they are with Samsung in Brazil. Then nearly nobody consuming it. So I think, having a smart TV provider who's dominating the TV market, I think or the consumption market, I think it's not the right way. I think an operator in combination with the broadcasters, they can define a good ecosystem, but also publishers, which are coming more and more into that field. You see, as an example, RTL in Germany. They're a publisher, they're a broadcaster, they're combining everything in RTL Plus. And imagine you have a good running set-top box where you have all the subscriptions, the live TV bouquet, and you as end consumer, you can switch with the same remote control in RTL Plus. I think we need to make it easier for the end consumer to consume. That's why, the combination of all the different subscriptions, we call it subscription broker, might be a beneficial thing.
And Jakob, obviously Zattoo, how do you maintain, competitiveness, considering you're talking about a platform which provides the services equally to all of your customers from effectively one location with configuration differences? But so, how do you address the competitiveness?
I think the competitiveness is very often by what is the operator putting that into that product. So very often we see that there's a television service which is not a standalone product. There's an ecosystem around that, and I think you already said, okay, they're selling electricity and they're selling insurances and they're selling broadband upgrades, right? So it needs to be part of a bigger product story. And what we see in Germany, we have fiber operators are popping up like mushrooms, literally. It's like a gold digging thing. And depending on who you ask, there's like 300 or 3,000. Depending on what day of the week you ask that question, there is between 30 and 30,000 operators coming up to put somebody's fiber on. And many of them come from this approach, we just throw this fiber over the fence and that's it. But very often they are lacking the product vision of, I need to have more than just one product to have a sustainable customer relationship. And that's where I think competitiveness really works well, when there's an end-to-end story to what you're doing and how you foster that client and customer relationship. So super aggregation, not only on the content side, but on how much wallet share, how much life share do I get from my customer? Not only when they're sitting in front of a square device, but taking care of them wherever they are in their life situation on their journey.
Okay.
And I would add maybe a dimension, which is although we're not, as I said, active competitor with these guys directly. We see, let's say, on the content owner side, it's really becoming smarter with data and really making sure that for all the products that they have out there, so they can work, let's say, with SIs, they can get best of breed, they can maybe go to a single OVP and do everything, but ultimately, they need to be present and own these analytics. So while before, not until long ago, these broadcasters were siloed. Now they need to come together and they need to continuously, find a way to bring the data together, uniformize and make sense, get then scorecards or some other visualization and put them in front of the business people. So there is this continuous loop that need to be iterated multiple times, and that's where cloud services come handy, because they might have a different idea, a different model, and they can spin it up on the cloud. Okay. That's why the cloud is good in this case.
Okay, thanks. I'd like to actually throw it open to the audience. Has anyone got a question they'd like to ask any of the panel? Any hands before I ask another question? Going once? Going twice? Okay.
There, we have a question.
Oh, so wait for the microphone.
Hi, I'm David Shaw. I'm also from the IET. So I was just reflecting on the fact that we see consolidations, and it seems to me that the endpoints are still the same if you think about content creation and content consumption, and all the players in the middle are moving around. And I wondered if you'd agree with that characterization.
Who would like to go first? Ruben? You're up for it.
Always to the Spanish guy. No, I think the content consumption and it's like I mentioned. If you see all the public subscriptions, the big subscriptions, they're all losing money. And I think the only way is if you combine an ecosystem where you really work together. An example for me is, products are dominated by tier 1 operators. Here, the three of us, we are providers, platform providers, who can be also partners for them to define a new setup and a new ecosystem. But what I'm saying is, if we don't open the ecosystem, and everybody can define and we don't need, not everybody needs to define a subscription. The CNN Plus subscription was a good example where they said, hey, it doesn't work out, we stop it. I think there will be a massive consolidation, but I see, as an example, the operator owning, I think, the biggest part. You talked about Vodafone, the biggest part of the legacy DVB area, which can move, can be translated, there can be a transition into the OTT space. I think this is an important part of that, but I think we need to define an ecosystem, and that's why, especially the standardization in the consumer electronics part, that would be a super great asset.
Roberta?
Going back to what you originally said, you said ultimately content is acquired, it's processed, is then distributed, and there are different ways through the operators, D2C. And the players are changing. Maybe back in the days I worked with Evertz, so I built something, putting the boxes together. Now I go to Brightcove, everything is together, that's great. But then people need to continuously, as I said, there is the pressure from their chief financial officer. They need to be creative and find different models. They need to also fail quickly. If something doesn't work, change. There is the flexibility out there. But it's, we have two eyes ultimately, and I don't know how much video I can watch in a day. So it's interesting. What is interesting, like for example, broadcasters are working with airplane manufacturers or with those. So people are looking at where else to put videos. It could be in cars, it could be in airplanes. I don't know, you were talking about Peloton the other day, and I didn't realize you need to pay for Peloton, but on the bike you also pay for Netflix, and you have Netflix. So there are all these different ways where video can go a bit beyond, the operator. So there can be creativity there. I'm positive.
And Jakob, you've got the final word.
I got the final word. Okay. I think customers should have the opportunity to watch whatever they want from one single endpoint, right? without opening clunky apps, without having to go into different use cases, without having to sign up here and sign up there and do this and that. So, and there's dominant players in the app market. Don't put any name dropping right now, but they are trying to tightly control their environment. And I don't think that's what consumers going to ask in the future. Consumers going to go where the content and where they can see their favorite stuff.
And actually, one of our board members says, at the end of the day, give them one UI, the same UX, and just focus on getting good content, and you solve the problem.
I like the driving society hype at the moment. Yeah, but who is driving the cars? It's the same viewership which is consuming all the other stuff. You know what I mean? So everybody is doing a big bubble out of the driving society topic. I have now, I don't know. I can watch TV, and it's just another device. Sorry to say it like this.
Yeah.
And it's the same viewership. Yeah, and here also they are defining their own ecosystems with their own content. Again, it's a super fragmentation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. And actually, Ruben, well done. You got the last word. Thank you very much, Ruben, Roberta, and Jakob for presenting today. And of course, you can grab them at the end of the session and move on from that. I don't think I'm going to give Thierry his final word, are I?
Very simple question. I think in Germany you have RTL Plus, in France we have TF1 Plus, you have M6 Plus. So we see the broadcaster basically starting to open silos. You want simplicity. Now you have to open an app per content provider. Is it the right direction or the wrong direction from a consumer point of view?
Thierry, we know each other since decades. Thank you for your question. Yeah.
This is a reality.
No. The topic of super aggregation is not only related to the big subscribers. It's also to the broadcasters in each and every country. So you can consume their live TV channel as an example, where they have their main revenue based on ads. But you can integrate also from a super aggregation perspective their app. It's like I mentioned. The example is you watch RTL on a live TV channel, yeah, and then you can switch into their application from an RTL Plus perspective. So I think the and regionalization, don't think about regionalization is super important. A lot of different people want to consume and see local content. What happens with the small applications from the small broadcasters? So this is something you can integrate as well as a super aggregation part. Yeah, it's like a bouquet where you as an end consumer can decide which application or which subscription I would like to use on my end device. And this is something you can't do with the big smart TV providers.
Yeah. I actually think there's all the different plus services out there. I'm on looking out for the negative one, the minus one. Anyway, we must finish. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks very much for coming. Please do come along to the other sessions that are scheduled throughout the day. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.